for the session today. Good morning, you're all welcome. Just a few things as we kick off. If you'd like to drop a message to just say hello to everyone, there's a chat box beneath that you can click on and drop a chat to either the panelists or any of the other individuals joining the webinar. We also have a Q&A tab for you to send in your questions, your comments, and whatever else you'd like to share in the course of the event. But first off, I would like to say welcome and thank you for joining us at this fireside chat. We'll be having a conversation today with distinguished industry leaders on multi-sector lessons on building a successful life and a thriving career. We have a lot packed for you today, so we'll go right into the plans for today. I'll start by welcoming my CEO, the Managing Director and CEO for Africa Prudential PLC, Mr. Obong Gideon, who will then take us through and, of course, welcome our board chairperson who is here. We're very honored to have her here with us today, Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi. And later in the day, I'll come back up to introduce our other panelists and guest speakers we have for today. But first, let me hand over to our CEO, Mr. Obong Gideon. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Ejo. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists. Thank you very much, listeners out there. Good morning and welcome to Africa Prudential, if I may. Today, we are celebrating our women in the International Women's Day, and I think that is so apt that we have the theme, which is breaking the bias. You know, as human beings, we all have biases, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and these biases lead to assumptions. And the woman takes the brunt of those assumptions, especially in the formal or in the workplace, where there is a lot of assumptions as to the goals, as to capacity, as to expectations. And one of the things that we need to do is break those subconscious biases and just deal with it from a place of meritocracy. Deal with every individual from a place of meritocracy. And it takes a lot of engagements like this, a lot of learnings, and a lot of change of mindset. And we'll be looking forward to hearing from our distinguished speakers and panelists, and to see how we can learn and actually break those biases. Thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you very much, sir. So our CEO also has the distinguished honor of sort of introducing and welcoming our board chairperson on board. She's also chairing this event. But before he does that, I'd like to mention that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you know someone who would like to join the webinar but is unable to join directly, please encourage them to click our social media links at Africa Prudential and join the webinar via YouTube or Facebook. We're also taking your questions and comments via YouTube and Facebook. So if you have questions and comments, feel free to drop them there as well. So I'll hand over again back to the CEO to welcome our distinguished chairman of the board of Africa Prudential PLC, Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi.
Thank you very much, Ejiro. And I would like to welcome, first of all, I want to introduce Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi. I'm so proud that we have her at Africa Prudential PLC as our chairperson. Africa Prudential PLC is a listed company. We have over 260,000 shareholders, and she is the one that drives and leads that ship. And if you go back, if you look at where she's coming from, she's a legal practitioner, lawyer by training. She's worked across the private and public sectors. She was one time Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos State. She was the first Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, and the Commissioner for Establishment Training and Pensions at different times in Lagos State. She's also a principal partner in Eniola Fadayomi and Co., and was also a legal advisor to First Bank of Nigeria and Chairman Board of Directors of AfriBank and PLC. So you can see that we have our women at Africa Prudential heavy hitters, and we see Adrian and a lot of other panelists that you hear from. So we are breaking that bias, and we take and continue to take leadership from Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this very topical matter I know what we all want in life is to be successful. So I ask, so what is a successful life? Why is it important? And how can we become successful? How can I become successful? And then we go on to say, how can I become successful and have a thriving career? So they're all related questions and we have to look at them together. So we start off by just saying, what does it mean to be successful? And fortunately, we're in the 21st century now, and we have freedom in deciding for ourselves what we term as successful. So what is successful, therefore, is defined by the individual. It's defined by the individual, that what are the goals, aspirations that I have for the future or present that would make me feel good, make me feel relevant, and make me feel that I've achieved a good life for myself. Why is it important? It's important because whatever we're doing, wherever we are, we want to have an impact. We want to feel relevant. We want to have a sense of purpose, sustainability, and growth. So again, this is driving that. And then what is success, a successful life in itself? And then everybody diverges into what they feel is a successful life. It's not the same thing for everybody. It can mean making a lot of money, millions and millions or billions can be what is successful. It can mean getting to the top of your profession. It can mean being married with children. That is successful. Having lovely children with you, that is a success. So it means different things to different people. It can mean always winning competitions in whatever area you've chosen. So in the 21st century now, it's become more personalized, not necessarily what society says. But now we go on to what is successful and a thriving career. And then it's being narrowed down a bit. And to do that, you must be more conscious of yourself and what you want in life. And we only have a few minutes, so I'll just take a few points on what I think can make us consciously understand what we want in life when we want to be successful and have a thriving career. The first thing is that we must have a plan, a set of goals, what we want to achieve and how we want to be successful in our chosen career. So we must choose our career, and it must be a career that we are somehow equipped to be able to undertake and feel comfortable in it, and to a great extent enjoy it too. So make a plan and take responsibility for your career development. Prioritize your goals. How do you take responsibility for your career development? Learning is a continuous thing. We now know that you don't wait for your employer to be the one to train you. Oh, send me on the course on this, send me on this. You continuously must be training yourself, developing yourself, okay? You must learn from your mistakes. We're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Therefore, you must, on the other hand, accept your failures as part of your learning curve. So don't see failures as failures how we used to see it, as a way forward. Learn from the experts. If you're lucky enough to be in an environment in which there are many people that understand what they are doing, learn from them. And this can be from women, from men, from people who are ahead of you, from people who are your colleagues and peers. Learn from the experts. A funny one, but important, master how to say no. You must know how to say no, because if you say yes when you shouldn't say yes, it can steer you into the wrong direction. Invest in relationships. Having a successful career, a thriving career, is all about relationships. There are other things that you can also take into consideration is developing good habits and respect, okay? Developing good habits means, how do you live your life? You need to have respect for yourself. You need to have respect for your family. You need to have respect for your office, and respect your office and company, or even if it's your own company, or if it's a public company, respect, and then respect for your country. So if we go through all of that, respect for yourself means your body, what your body requires, balanced diet, healthy lifestyle. If you need to go to the office very early the following morning, definitely an early night's sleep. Your sleeping habits, your eating habits, all of that contributes to having a healthy body, and therefore you're able to perform at a peak whenever you're required to. Respect for your family also means that you need to give quality time to your family whenever it's required, because if your family life is in tumbles and ruins, you will not perform well. You will arrive in the office and feel completely frazzled. You will be tired because you didn't sleep well, because you were worried. The worry and anxiety will show on your face. And no matter whether you had arguments or issues, right or wrong, doesn't matter. What is important is that you need to have respect for your family. And when you give them the respect, they will also accord you that respect. And you will feel a much happier and fulfilled person in your chosen career. So respect for your office. You must respect your office, your company, your people you work with, your superiors, your colleagues, even those who work for you. You must respect them, treat them well, defer to them as and when required, and you must have integrity. You must be able to be relied upon. You must be able to be trusted in your office, that if they say something is confidential, they should be able to trust you that, oh, don't worry, it's so-and-so there, we can trust her. If it's money, finances involved, they should be able to say, leave it in her hands. Her includes his, in this case. Leave it in her hands. We can rely, our money is safe. So integrity is extremely important, and it's important to be able to be trusted, and you should have respect for your country. Many people say, oh, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is useless, Nigeria is that. I'm always against it. You should talk well about your country, because if you don't talk well about your country, you are bringing yourself down. You'll go to some place and say, oh, Nigerians are not included. Why? Because somewhere you said, oh, Nigerians are terrible. Nigerians are very hardworking people, and I believe you should have that respect for your country. So you can see that all these things, and then you should enjoy your work. Why choose a career that you don't enjoy? And nothing is 100% perfect, but even your working environment, if it's not exactly as you want it to be, you make it so. Add value to your environment. Add value to your environment to make sure that that environment becomes one in which not only you enjoy, but also others enjoy being around you. So these are all factors that at the end of the day are very relevant to people who want you to continue being around. And definitely, if you're going to have a thriving career, you need people to want to continue to have you around. So I think probably my time is up. You know, a few other things. I'll just say sometimes you have to take some smart risks, change your strategies once in a while, and prepare for the unexpected. You always have to. But finally, be patient. Sometimes patience is required. And after you've done all that you need to do, take a deep breath and then hope that things will work out as you expect them to. And if they don't do so immediately, be a bit patient. And in time, if you're doing the right things and when you should be, you'll find that it'll just come. Opportunity will come knocking at your door, and opportunity alongside preparation. We know what they say that means. It's a very good combination. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I hope that sets the pace for us to hear all the really interesting things that I'm so looking forward to hearing today. And I think so many of our viewers are also. Thank you so much.
So much, Madam Chairman. I don't think we can have started on a higher note than the trajectory that you've set for us. It's very, very pivotal points that I'm sure will then keep coming up as we now move into, the fireside chats. And we get to hear more and learn more from the experiences of the other amazing panelists as we have on the call today. But thank you so much, Madam Chairman. We are fired up and excited for the rest of the session. So for those of us who are just joining in, I'd like to say thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining. We are live streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them either through the comment section or through the Q&A chats that we have. If you're taking pictures or sharing your nuggets, I have taken lots of notes already from Madam Chairman's introduction. Feel free to tag us on social media and use the hashtag APIWD Fireside. It will give us a chance to see what you're learning from this session and also share your thoughts with some of the other people joining us from across the world. I'd like to celebrate 3 individuals who jumped right into the session from the beginning and have been dropping their comments in the chat box. I have Dr. Ufoma Festus Omo Obi. I hope I have that right. I also have Olumide Ogunwole and Adefolake Dujaye. Thank you so much for getting right into it and sending a lot of love and light through the comment section. So I'll very quickly run through to our panelists. I can see Aija Zubaida, I can see Miss Bali. She said I can call her Miss B. So I can see Miss B on the call. And of course, I see you. I'll run through their citation very quickly so that they can start to share their thoughts with us on what to expect from today. So as a quick highlight, I'll start with our CEO, Obong Idiong, who is the CEO of Africa Prudential PLC. He's had years of experience in several sectors from financial to hospitality and served in various capacities on the board in different organizations and is now charged with driving the company's digital transformation agenda and repositioning Africa Prudential PLC as a partner of choice when it comes to registrar services, capital market advisory, business support solutions, digital technology advisory, and of course, software development. There are lots of interesting things going on in Africa Prudential PLC. And I hope that sometime before this call is over, he will just take us through some of the major things that have happened in recent times and some of the outlook that the organization has for our distinguished markets that we serve. We also have on the panel today, Aija Zubaida, Mehi Rashid. She's a distinguished technocrat with over 4 decades of experience in the public and private sectors. She worked with Nitel for over 23 years, rising to the position of executive director with significant experience in corporate strategic management, human and material resources. She is also served as the deputy coordinator of the technical working group for the preparation of the medium-term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, for Nigeria, as well as the Nigeria Agenda 2050, looking at our business environment, trade, competitiveness, and product space marketing. She is currently a member of the board of directors of the Nigeria Internet Exchange Point, an organization responsible for allowing network operators, ISPs, and content providers to exchange traffic. She is also on the board of Africa Prudential PLC. You're welcome, madam. And our final panelist today, Mrs. Adeola Bali. Mr. Adeola Bali has over 13 years experience in corporate governance and senior management roles, 8 of which she spent as the CEO for Garments Care Limited, driving revenues above 6 billion during her tenure. She's had prior experience across the corporate strata as CFO for High TV and business setup consultant for Bloomberg Africa. She's also served as the group CFO for Rosab International, a finance director at Tel CGSM Group, and held senior positions at Virgin Nigeria Airways, Owando PLC, and the Financial Services Authority in the UK. She currently sits on the board of LAD Group, Nigeria's largest cocoa processor, the Freedom Foundation, the Ibidunni Igodalo Foundation, Female Initiatives for Impact, and Play Cinemas Limited. She's currently the managing director of ESG Limited, a women's business clinic, where she lends a wealth of experience to aid the growth of women-owned businesses or managed businesses through facilitation, representation, and advisory services. Adeola Bali has been married for 30 years with 2 adult children, and she's bringing a lot of that wealth of experience to the conversation that we're having today in our engagement. So I'll start off and go back to Hajia Zubaida. We said it is a fireside chat, and I'm looking forward to open conversations, real conversations that everyone joining the call can learn from. So I'll start with Hajia. If you can just run us through for about 5 minutes, your thoughts on what it really means to build a successful life and a thriving career, particularly from your experience, having reached the apex of a lot of the positions available within our public service in Nigeria today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ejiru. Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, other members that have joined us today. You're all welcome. My name is Zubaida Rashid, and I will start, first of all, by saying that I went to school. That is one of the most important things, that I had an education, because as a person coming from the northern part of Nigeria, and at that time, education for women was not actually something that was prevalent, let's say. And especially to university level. I started my primary school. After primary school, a lot of my classmates got married thereafter. I went on to Queen's College, Lagos, and after that, by secondary school, many of my secondary school mates not from Queen's College, from other parts of Nigeria, they got married. And only a few of us from the north were able to go to university. And coming from also a family of Islamic scholars, a lot of people raised their eyes that why would my father allow me to go to university without getting married? But all he said to me was that I should focus and know and learn what I've been sent to do. And that always stayed with me, that learning is one of the most important tools of life, wherever you are, wherever you find yourself. And I took it to heart. And thereafter, after I finished my university at NYSC, I joined the then NET, Nigerian External Telecommunication, later on joined to become NITEL. And I started working there as a junior officer, and amongst so many men that were technical inclined and technicians. So when I joined, actually, there were very few females, and the females mostly were not in the technical field. A few of them were, but not really, but were in the support, let's say support staff. So at the time, we didn't have much respect, let's say. We were not heard because everything had to do with technical technicians. Connecting line was a technical job. Everything was a technical job. So we were like second, third, or fourth class citizens, first with the engineers, then the technologists, then the male staff, and thereafter the female staff. However, what I did was that when I realized that if I wanted to have a career and a fulfilling one, I had to now invest more time in learning. And that made me start to learn everything about installing a line. From the switches, I have a degree in economics, so of course I wasn't a technical person. I didn't know anything about switches, but I had to learn. I had to learn about how to connect a line, how to install it, what could be wrong with it, and so on and so forth. And that, by doing that, it earned the respect of my male colleagues that were the engineers or the technicians, meaning that I could speak their language, and therefore, they couldn't trick me into saying, this is the real problem, whereas that is the real problem. And because of that, they now realize that the value of learning and women, that it is not only a man that can do such and such a job. So from there, that made me really look at it, and I started now to mentor my other female colleagues that were with me in the support or customer service or any other department other than the technical. So my experience has been that if you are a female, first of all, in any organization, you have to work double hard, because first you have to overcome the stereotyping of women. We take maternity leave, we do that, but we have to make up for it in working harder to achieve our set objectives and goals. And for us to set, what do we really want to achieve? Why are we even doing the job we're doing? What can you contribute? And because of all those things that I put into my own planning, so I had to now look at it. How can I contribute, and at what stage? At different times, you had to learn something different. I remember that once when I was working in the long distance communication, and when the management consultants were hired, the Pentascope, the Dutch management consultants, I had a meeting with the CEO and chief technical officer. I didn't know I was being interviewed, and we were discussing about pricing, about SAT3. And, we kept on going back and forth. And I had to explain to them that what they were asking me to do, I couldn't do because it would not be right, and so on and so forth. I didn't realize actually that they were interviewing me for a higher position. But because I knew the job and I knew I wasn't going to compromise on the truth or the correctness of something, of the issue, they actually now gave me to manage the whole marketing department. So it is always, important that we learn our trade. We have an appreciation of whatever we're doing. And also, as the chairperson has said before, that we should learn to speak out and say no when it is time to say no, and yes when it is time to say yes. And also that we shouldn't have assumptions, because a lot of people just assumed because we are commercial people coming from commercial that we didn't know anything about the technical side of the business. Whereas, if you're able to talk the language of whoever you're working with, definitely they're going to appreciate that you know what you're doing. And that will open doors for us. And that is exactly what happened. Because by the time that I was given that position of general manager marketing, the first lady to be given that position, in fact, the first person to be given in NITEL then, I had to now work doubly hard to make sure that whatever I was doing, I was also bringing people on board. So I developed relationship with not only the people that I was working with, but across the board, so that whatever plan we had the buy-in of all my colleagues. And that led me to believe that I had a very successful career because I was impacting what I learned to others, and also that I was making progress and building relationship with other people, with other colleagues in the organization, and also, of course, outside the organization, which was very important as well, because I had to explain to my customers what was happening. And till today, when I meet some of my old customers that we had a good relationship with, it's always with respect, because respect is earned. You don't say, I deserve to be respected. No, you have to work towards it. And the hallmark of it is knowing having knowledge of what you do, and also adhering to the rules and regulations guiding whatever you're doing. You have to set yourself like an agenda or an objective to say that I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, and this is how I'm going to live my life. This is how I'm going to be able to carry myself in my life also. You have to also have time. At the time I was working, I had children, who were going to school, I was also training, because I had to, sometimes I was the driver, I was the cook, I was the cleaner, I was the everything, but I had to do it, and I had to also do my job. And I had to face the fact that everything I was doing was equally important. There was nothing that was less important, because some people think that as a woman, if you have a job, that your family life suffers. You don't have to make it like that. You just have to prioritize and arrange how you're going to manage it. And if you manage it well, you will be successful. I don't know if my 5 minutes up or not.
Thank you so much, Aija. So, well, yes, a few minutes ago, but I think we're all taking such great notes that I don't think anyone had the heart to ask that you pause on the very deep nuggets that you were sharing with us. And, starting off from that point about academics and the place of educating the girl child was very, very powerful. I think that's a privilege that's a lot of the people who are born in this age take for granted. They do not recognize that there was a time when sending a girl child to primary school, for example, was a big deal, So, but thank you so much for highlighting that and the place of knowledge and building competence and moving yourself from being the fifth class citizen, if I could borrow that from your terms, to eventually steering the ship and sitting on the leadership of the organization. That was so inspirational. Thank you so much, madam. So I'll move on to Miss B, to then, share her 5 minutes of nuggets. And if you have questions, comments, remember that you can start to drop them in the chat box or using the Q&A box. We're streaming live on YouTube. You want to share your thoughts and nuggets from this event. You're shocked that there was a time when women were not allowed to go to primary school. Do it with the hashtag APAWIWD Fireside and, tag us on social media. Thank you. So Ms. Bali.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm deeply honored to be on this panel today, and especially to be on the same panel as our chairman, Chief Mrs. Eniola Adayome and Hajia Rashid. I've already learned so much from their wealth of experience. I'm actually going to start almost from the same place as Hajia started, from my beginnings, actually. And I'm going to talk about my family life to start off with, because I think that's actually very important, and your foundation is absolutely important. So I am the fourth child of 5 children. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yes, I'm the fourth child of 5 children, 4 girls, 1 boy. And my formative years were greatly influenced by my parents, especially my father. You would say I'm a daddy's girl, but I would say I would actually highlight my dad. He's 97 today, going strong and still pushing industry. I guess in those days, maybe boys, I'm going to use the word, maybe boys were very, very important, but he was fortunate, I'll use the word fortunate, to have 4 girls and 1 boy. He have affirmed every single one of us and made us realize that we could be the best and we should strive to be the best always. I went to QC, Hajia Rashid, so, and it was interesting. Coming second was not you couldn't come home coming second though. You could not come home coming second. He always expected us to come first all the time. He didn't distinguish between his boy and his girl. So as far as we were concerned, when we were growing up, we were equal. In fact, right now, it's actually quite interesting. My brother has actually shouted to have his voice heard because I have one sister who's late, but the three of us, our voices are so loud that he really has to shout to get his voice heard even now. And one of the things he also imprinted in our minds from such an early age was that in any environment you are in, there is always the good and there is the bad. It is your responsibility to search out for the good and emulate the good, and then leave out the bad. And what he was trying to say is that there is value in everyone. It is your responsibility to search out that value. And I'll talk about my mom, who is late now. She was a teacher. And in my growing years, she was always willing to help people. And in my growing years, there will be always one woman or the other around us who I knew she was helping, even though sometimes I knew it cost her very much. So what that left with me whilst I was growing up was that you should always render help when it is within your power to render that help, even if it does cost you. So those are the guiding principles that formed me and that I carried on right throughout my career. Women are equal to men. Sometimes it might be difficult to appreciate that, but women are equal to men. Your success largely depends on the grace of God and the value you bring. And always remember to render help when it is in your power to do so. And I say this as a starting and a foundation, because I think when we get the foundations right, in fact, the Bible says, if your foundations are broken, what can the righteous do? But really and truly, if you do get the foundations right, a lot of things in the future will be a lot easier to do. So I started thinking about what I was going to talk about before I realized that the topic of today's, this year's International Women's Day was breaking the bias. But what I had in my mind was leaving a legacy. And I think it's important for all of us, even as we go into the work environment, is to leave a legacy, regardless of where we are within the organization. But it's not always the foremost on our minds. When we start working, what we want to do is to succeed, to get promoted, to get recognized, to get to the top of our careers or our chosen fields. My question to us is, what do we do consciously or unconsciously to succeed? Some of the things we do, can they be the things that create barriers of entry to others? Do we come into the workplace with open minds to create an enabling environment for others to succeed? Do we have cultural biases, stereotypes in our minds that negatively impact others? Now I'll go to my own career. So I started off my career in financial services in the UK. Now I can tell you what, glaring, and I rose to a quite senior level. And there are two biases that faced me each time I went anywhere. I worked in the city, and two biases were the fact that I was female and I was Black. I would enter into male-dominated boardrooms and I could see the men do a double take. But I can tell you what, it never deterred me from achieving what I needed to achieve. What I had to put on at each time was professionalism. And that includes confidence, your competence, clear communication. And I can tell you what, women have a tool, and I believe when they need to use that tool, they should use it. And that tool is charisma. Where you have the charisma, you use your charisma. So I have worked in, over the last 30 years, several industries: financial services, oil and gas, aviation, telecoms, media and television, laundry and dry cleaning. And sometimes I laugh at myself when I say jack of all trades, but master of all. And some of my guiding principles right throughout my career was anywhere I went or anywhere I was, I never ever believed that I would be in that place forever. What I needed to do wherever I was Hajia mentioned, was to learn and improve my skill set. Learning is just non-negotiable. Improve your skill set. And I refuse to be territorial. I find that when you become territorial, I want to be in a position forever, you create a barrier for somebody else to enter. I always created an inclusive environment where teamwork was actually more important than individualism. Focusing on what others brought to the table and were able to contribute. And I'm always trying to encourage for people to contribute. I actually always choose to focus on the positive values that your colleagues can bring to the table and choose to overlook the negatives. And this is a choice. And I'm going to stress on this point and give an example. One of the organizations where, and sometimes we say that women are our worst enemies. And one of the organizations where I worked, the head of legal, and it was quite a technical organization. So the head of legal, I could see that she was very assertive, very determined to succeed, very performance driven, but she did deliver a lot of value. Of course, I heard everybody else, they would come and tell me, Mrs. B, Mrs. B, Mrs. B, what is it that you see in this lady? Why are you always her friend? Why are you always supporting her? And they were always sowing negative seeds. I chose to focus on the positives. I chose to emulate the positives and actually learn from that which I saw that she was always striving to deliver. And what I encourage a lot of people in corporate organizations, there are always people chit-chatting, sowing horrible seeds in your head. Pick only what is positive and focus on what is positive. And I can tell you, it will get you very, very far. Integrity is very, very important. Personal integrity and integrity of purpose. There is a difference between the two of them. Personal integrity is non-negotiable. Always stay true to your personal values and the cause you are championing. No hidden agendas. When you have a hidden agenda, it creates an environment of mistrust. And for people to thrive in an organization, you have to create an environment of trust. I always have an open door policy. No matter where you are or who you are, you could walk into my office at any time. I am always willing to help and always willing to provide solutions to the issues at hand. Professionalism, honestly, is what will take people far and enable you to thrive. Communicating effectively and appropriately at all times and finding ways to be productive, no matter what the stresses are. In this country, there are so many stresses. And sometimes a stressful environment, I think people use that opportunity to speak inappropriately in organizations. And I think that is a no-no. Irrespective of what stresses you have come from home, you need to be professional and speak appropriately at all times. Now, that is not to say that there aren't any biases. There are lots of biases which women face, and I'll just articulate a few. So there's a performance bias where you find that women with the same qualification are not given the same pay grades as men, and that could start from recruitment to performance assessments, and women are generally seen as a little bit less competent. I will talk about likability, what I call the likability bias. And I spoke about it when I was talking about the head of legal. If a woman is too nice, she's perceived as weak, incompetent. Whereas if she is assertive, she's perceived as bossy, aggressive, ambitious, and not a team player. Whereas an assertive man is perceived as strong and competent. There's also the parental bias. Hajia spoke about it. Pregnant women and women with young children are many times, and I'm stressing this so that we're intentional about knowing about these unconscious biases, and we're intentional about ensuring that we do not perpetuate them wherever we are. So women who are, nursing mothers, they're sometimes overlooked because, HR will say, they'll be off work for a while. We don't, we can't promote them. We know she's going to be off work for a long time. That is a bias, but it's quite interesting. Now that we have paternity leave and men go on leave for, when their wives give birth. I was speaking to a friend of mine and she said, it's amazing that bias is shifting, that one of her colleagues is the one that goes to pick up his son at the creche and he has to go through the back door to pick up his son because, going to the creche is seen as unmanly and is seen as a woman's job and is seen as being weak. That's a bias. So we need to be conscious about these things. Now, ageism is also a bias. I see Omolola, she's young, she's pretty, she's competent. Some people would say, she's too young, or don't give her that job. Or somebody that's aged, who's competent, experienced, and is the right person. And you will say, oh, this person is a bit too old for the job. I think we should be conscious about those things. There's also the intersectional bias. And this is a combination. I can almost say in Nigeria, there is this intersectional bias, where it's a combination of biases that coexist at the same time. So there's gender. Well, in Nigeria, there's no color. There's gender, there's religion, there's tribe, there's everything put together. I faced that in the UK a lot of times, but as I said, it was a conscious decision to ensure that professionalism overrode in everything I did. I ensured I was professional. So I was able to put that bias, I was able to ignore that bias to a certain extent. But it's something that we should be conscious of. Now, this one is actually quite interesting. Affinity biases. We tend to be drawn to people who look like us. So if they speak for them, we like them, or they speak like us, or they come from the same background as we do. And of course, in this country, there are religious biases. But I'm stressing those things so that we are very, very clear that they exist either consciously or unconsciously. And once we're aware of them, then we are more intentional about ensuring that we break those molds. And it starts from young. And that's why I actually talked about, my growing up years and what my parents instilled in me. So I would end with leaving a legacy. And I think leaving that legacy, breaking the bias, starts with each and every one of us. Starts with me, starts with Omolola, starts with, Hajia, starts with our chairman, starts with each and every one of us. So I spoke to a friend of mine. This is quite interesting. I spoke to a friend of mine. I said what was laid on my heart was to speak about leaving a legacy. And the first thing she said, women in Nigeria don't leave a lasting legacy in the corporate environment. I was like, what do you mean? And she said to me, how many women can you count with all the women who have done great things? How many women can you count have left a lasting legacy, and what they have done has become a reference point in their organizations or in the nation? And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't count more than 50. We were trying to count. After a while, we struggled. So I want to leave us with this charge and this challenge, is that it beholds each and every one of us to break that bias, leave a legacy. A legacy is the lasting record of who we are, what we stand for, and what impact we have made. So I talk about women who we all know have left legacies. We can talk about some notable ones. I'm not talking about all of them, like Dora Akunyili. You cannot talk about the history of the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria without speaking about her. Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, Kudirat Abiola. When you talk about politics, their names pop up. Even today, for the younger ones, Mo Abudu in the media and film in Nigeria. And she's not only doing what she's doing, great work in Nigeria, she's doing it across the world. So I think it's never too late. And it's one thing that regardless of where you are within your organization, you can start thinking about leaving that legacy. And it's irrespective of wherever we are in our careers, we must have a sense of purpose. Strive to leave something behind in the organization that they can fall back on for generations to come. Not just exist to collect salary, to buy a car, to buy houses, for women to buy weave on, to do lashes, to do all those things that we like to do. And the Bible says, if you subsist for yourself alone, you are most miserable amongst men. So leaving a legacy goes beyond you. It requires you to know your why. What is your why? And you must stick to it, and you must be authentic and true to yourself. I'm a very passionate person. Once I know about anything and I get into it, I have passion. People say, oh, Mrs. B, how come you, honestly, learning is my first ethos. So you see, I have gone through quite a few industries. And the truth is, the first thing you do is to learn very fast. And I'm true to myself everywhere I go. You must always have a clear focus. And legacy may not necessarily be related to just work. It could be tied to your character. You could have a legacy of compassion and charity. We all know Mother Teresa. We all know her for that. A mindset, also it could be your mindset. Disruption, innovation. When we look at Oprah, oh my goodness, the things that she has achieved, she disrupted that industry. She did so many things that you say to yourself, my goodness, a Black woman at that time with her background, how could she have done it? But she was very intentional. Now, no one can define your legacy for you. No one can or should lead, live, and leave a legacy except you. And you may not know you are actually building it. And it could be something so simple, like somebody that tells the truth at all times. So be known in your organization for the woman that she will tell the truth, irrespective of what's going on, she will tell the truth. It could be a legacy of integrity. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. My dad preached, drummed hard work into our heads. He would always say, hard work never kills, hard work never kills, hard work never kills. That's why second positions will never, ever, never. In fact, you knew that if you came second, it was trouble when we got home. Hard work, going the extra mile to achieve and produce results. Resilience, never giving up. What footprint are we going to leave in our organizations? We need to be intentional about the footprint, and it's never too late, irrespective of where you are, because when you begin to leave a legacy, and a positive legacy, I'm not going to talk about, maybe as when we get into the question and answer, those negative legacies can come out and we can discuss them. But I would leave you with this: break the bias, leave a legacy. And I'll actually leave you with 3 legacy. Living a legacy is not always easy and it's not always convenient. And I'll use 3 examples in the Bible: Esther, Rahab, and Mary. They left strong. Their names are mentioned each time. They left legacies. Each time it was not convenient. It may not always be convenient. You may always think, oh, it's not the right time. But you know what? Break the bias, leave a legacy. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Hi, I'm just confirming. Okay, there was a bit of a feedback initially, but thank you so much, Ms. B, from a fellow Daddy's Girl card carrying member. Your nuggets were amazing, and your energy as well. I'm sure for a lot of us listening, it was very, very infectious. And I think a lot of the lessons that you left with us can be summed up in those 4 C's that you shared at a point: your confidence, your competence, your communication, your charisma. Without it, the whole journey to leaving a legacy might be a bit, of a tough one. But I think if you're armed with your 4 C's, you stand a better chance of leading, and leaving a legacy in your organization. So thank you so much, ma'am. We would be going next to the CEO for his points. A lot of questions are already coming in. So if you see me prompting you for time, it's because I also know that you need some time to answer the questions, the many questions that are already rolling in. So I'll hand over to our CEO for his talk on just telling us about building a successful life and a thriving career in organizational leadership and what steps we can take. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ejiro, and thank you again, panelists, and thank you for all those that are joining us. So for leadership, normally when people speak of leadership, a lot of people think about positions. A lot of people think about leading groups, or leading people. But looking at across, I see leadership, and I think it's so important that all of us see leadership as coming from, I think Ms. B talked about mindset, coming from a place of mindset. Leadership is not the role you're playing today. Leadership is not the position you're keeping. Leadership is where you are and what you play and the mindset you carry. What attribute, and those mindsets now create an attribute of you. And those attributes is what would make you a great leader, whether in the formal or informal sector, whether you're running a one-man business, or whether you're running a conglomerate, a global conglomerate. And it's very, very important. I'm thinking, funny enough, Ms. B was also speaking about some national female heroes. And in thinking about this topic, I thought about Dr. Stella Adedevo, a national hero in Nigeria. And what did she show? What do we know about her? We know that she showed courage. We know that she was selfless. We know that she took action when action was required. And what did that do? That saved countless. We don't know how many lives that she saved by that singular action of hers. Now, when we talk about her, nobody talks about what she did. We don't know. We know she was a medical doctor. We know she was treating a patient, but we don't know if she was the owner of the hospital. We don't know if she was the medical director, but we know she was a leader because of the attributes that she had and she showed. And I think we also talk about, Mother Teresa. So it's so important that when we're talking about leadership, it's about who are we and what do we do? And when push comes to shove, what actions do we take? Looking at my career, I'm lucky. I've come the later part of my career. I'm come from an environment where you are recognized for your work, right? But I tell people, we're talking about the bias today, and I tell people, no matter how negative your environment would be, you can never trump a meritocracy. Being good, being capable, being able. No amount of bias can trump that. Once those attributes are there, they are so objective. They're so objective that even if you have someone that is, that maybe because of your gender, maybe because of your skin color, maybe because of your tribe or your religion, the person would even know, but this person is good. And around them, the person would know this person is good. So it's important that we look and wonder and see what those attributes are. Our chairman talked about, she said, definition of success, is personal. So personally, the definition of you wanting to be a leader is personal. It's not someone giving you or exalting you to a particular position, or not what a title that you currently receive, but it's personal as your leader. The next thing is what examples when people see you, right? You can give negative examples regardless of your position, and you can give positive examples regardless of your position. So what examples do you give when people see you? What do they think about? Do they think about getting things done? Do they think about getting it right? Do they think about excellence? Do they think about customer service? What do they think about? And all those, and it's so important that, we're very, very conscious of growing and looking at the right avenues to create that leadership, to create those leadership attributes in us. I come from a place where, in the early part of my career, I started as a lawyer, and even as a lawyer, and even going to court, and just as a very, very junior lawyer, I was in litigation and everything. There's certain ways I used to always do stuff. There's a certain ways to always do stuff, no matter how junior. And even in my career, and even in my life, and even today, every day, in fact, today, what I always pray for is humility. Because I think that you need to serve, to be served, and you need to serve, you need to be humble to be able to show those kind of attributes. Someone more from where they are down to where than the current role or space they play. And I found where, regardless of my title in the career, regardless of my title, I always try to do everything right. You must always try to do everything right, no matter how some might look at some roles as demeaning. Right? Some might look at, you can see, I've seen a space, I've seen in my career, I've seen a cleaner go up to run the business, go up to run and be a manager of a particular business. So it's nothing about, it's not about the humble beginning, it's not about the title, it's not about the promotion, it's not about the level. Africa Prudential, we've had someone that was, one of the things we've had someone that was a copper, and today he's running one of our products that we are looking at being one of our biggest flagship products. Why? Because of the attributes he showed, right? We've also had someone that has been in a very traditional and particular place, but because of the attributes, we're coming in, bringing in technology as part of our core businesses. But the leadership already has shown that you need to take charge of this area. And automatically she is, as our CEO I'm talking about, she has already moved and tried to change and trying to manage and take that kind of leadership, because this is where we are. So how do you, Miss Hajia talked about, developing herself to meet those challenges. Nobody's going to develop you. Developing yourself to meet those challenges. Now, these are leadership. It's so important that we do not think about leadership as being the CEO of an organization, being the head of the team. All these things. How resilient are you? How well do you do what you're currently doing? What does execution, what does accountability, what does ownership mean to you? What does ownership, what does getting things done mean to you? Because it's those behaviors that will take you when you have a higher role, when you have a higher responsibility, it's those things that will get you to succeed in them. And it's also those attributes that will make you recognized. Of course, people can get wrongly promoted. Of course, people can be pushed ahead of you. But at the end of the day, those attributes would always come up and speak for you. We come from, our core values here is about excellence, execution, and enterprise. And I don't think anything outside those things. I think those things cover who we need to be as human beings, whether male, whether or female, who we need to be. Execution, you get something. Ms. Bali talked about looking and having a purpose in life, having a plan, having a vision, whatever that plan, purpose, or vision is, in whatever aspect or areas of life, how are you going to achieve it? How are you going to create milestones? How are you going to be disciplined? How are you going to be hardworking to meet all those areas? How will you achieve it? At the end of the day, we come from a world where it's just about getting things done and getting them done right. We celebrate a lot of huge companies out there. We celebrate a lot of success stories from the finance world to the technology world and everything. But there were certain attributes and behaviors that led to that. There was no luck. For every Amazon you see, there's 100 that have tried. For every Facebook you see, there's 100 that's tried. We've known, we understand the whole space exploration in looking at Elon Musk. We know it wasn't easy, but what attributes do you show to determine or to separate yourself and make yourself different or lead? These are the things. And when you go to excellence, getting things, done and doing it right the first time, regardless of who is watching, how well do you do stuff? How well do you do an assignment? Are you the one that they give an assignment and you just come up with the work and say, I've done it? Are you the one that you give an assignment and you ask yourself, you sit back and say, how well have I done this? Have I been able to achieve the purpose of this assignment? And those things actually separate people, especially in the formal world, in the workplace. It separates you. How well did you do it? And thirdly, in terms of enterprising, we sit back and we see a lot of what's happening across, and we talked about when celebrated some companies in Nigeria over the past being some fintechs, and crossing over $1 billion. But what does that mean? That means that they did something that was very, very different. And in looking at enterprising, how are you on your role? How are you dealing with that stuff? Are you just doing it as we've always done it? Are you just doing it because this is how we do it? Are you just doing it because the customer doesn't complain? Are you doing it because this is the best possible way? Or are you bringing in new ideas? Are you moving, the needle? Are you improving on that process? Are you every day thinking, how can this be done? How can this be better? How do I get this better? Are you looking at the customer and saying, how do I, and provide and serve this customer in a different way that is more convenient, that is cheaper? For me, all those things coming together is what the kind of leadership, is what formulates to leadership, regardless of if you're working or selling in a stall by the roadside, or if you're leading a corporate organization. And within those personal attributes, because leadership, when you get a title, the title is not going to come with attributes. You are the one that's going to come with attributes and determine what kind of leader and what kind of growth you're going to create. And so wherever you are, do you have the right attributes? Are you excellent in what you do? Do you execute and get things done and get them done well? Do you create and try to look for how well can I do these things? And I believe that once we put those things in place and we look inwards at ourselves and we look up for how to always be better as individuals, then I think that is, for me, is the definition of leadership. And that, for me, would trump any bias anybody would have against you, because meritocracy, like I said, is objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Idionga. See you. Interesting thoughts on what we model as leaders and also what we model to stand us out from the crowd and what sets us apart from other individuals. So thank you. Quite a number of questions already. My colleague has collated some and sent to me. We also have quite a few comments. So you can keep your comments coming in the chat box. Would try to ensure that we read out as many as possible. We're still live on YouTube. And if you want to share your thoughts on social media, you can tag us and use the hashtag APIWD Fireside to share your thoughts with us. So we have a few questions in already. Interestingly, one of the questions is targeted at Madam Chairman. We also have some specifically addressed to some of our panelists like Haija and the CEO and Ms. Bali. But I'll start with the first one here, which interestingly is to the CEO and the only man on our panel today. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. As an organizational leader and influencer of management discourse, what steps do you think organizations and leaders can take to create an enabling environment for employees to thrive, bearing in mind that the demographics of the current workforce and the things that are important to them, such as purpose, independence, autonomy, flexibility, and financial independence? I think the later part of the question is bearing in mind the things that are important to the workforce that we have today. And then you have purpose, independence, autonomy, flexibility, and financial independence. How do we create an enabling environment for employees to thrive?
I think that like the world, I think like organizations, like they cannot be static. And I believe that is the millennial that asked that question, because today, in today's world, back in the day, you see where people were, coming to work because of the salary, because of the level, because of the position, because of the socioeconomic need. But now you see people and the idea of work and what they do is determined a lot by how they feel, it's determined a lot by their purpose, and it's determined a lot by what has meaning to them. So I think that flexibility is definitely key in today's world as we move ahead. Is not being blind to the actual fact and to the way the corporate world is changing, but it's seeing how you can balance. But I speak of flexibility, but it's also important to know that there has to be also a balance, and I think that we look at generations, and generation is real. I mean, if you look at where we are today and you look at in the past years, things change and the generational changes. And I think that when we look at generation and we see what really is important, not what really is important, because there are different ways to change how you view and how you do things. And so the fact, and so it's important that you're not stuck or fixated on last way. At the end of the day, when you talk about the work and environment, at the end of the day, what's the purpose of an organization? The objectives of that organization. Can you meet those objectives, but still adding a new flavor, but still trying to be flexible, but still trying to, trying to meet the purpose of your staff, and I think that, of your employees. And I think that if the answer is yes, then I think that by all means, organizations should be looking at how to do things differently. Organizations should be looking at how to mix things a bit. At the end of the day, once productivity is guaranteed, and I think that productivity is not going to is going to be guaranteed despite using very traditional old or new methods, but it's for you to find that balance of what will guarantee productivity, what is important to my colleagues, and then when you find that right balance, I think that environment can be created. And finding that balance is engagement. I think that in the workforce, we need to engage at all levels. In the workforce, and know what is important to everybody and see how we can. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Of course, it's not going to meet everybody's needs. But I think that when people see, when your colleagues see, or when staff see that, oh, there is a certain, the organization or the management is trying, or trying to make this, work and everything, I think that appreciation would be there, and together we can always move it forward. But yes, I think it's important that flexibility and looking at doing things differently is so key, not just to creating that enabling environment, but to the success of any organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. And I believe that advice goes not just to the organizational leaders, but like you mentioned when you were speaking earlier, whichever capacity you find yourself in, you are a leader of a space. So create that flexibility and that thriving environment for your team to work in. We have a question here for Madam Chairman. So Madam Chairman, can I go ahead to read out the question? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So someone has asked that you've led a distinguished career across both the public. Sorry, let me be sure that. Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chairman. You've led a distinguished career across both the public and private sectors, including many firsts, such as the first Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, and Commissioner for Establishments, Training and Pensions. You have also held positions such as the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of Lagos State, Legal Advisor to First Bank, and the Chairman of the Board of Directors for Afribank PLC. And of course, I would have to add this, Chairman, Board of Directors for Africa Prudential PLC, very proudly. Can you share some insights into your principles for a successful life?
I think fortunately for me, I think most of the essential principles, I think, have already been very well outlined, even by our panelists. And I don't think it's difficult for me to find anything outside what we have been saying. We've talked about being prepared from the time you're growing up. You do need that parental support in terms of your education, in terms of building up your confidence and having the wherewithal to take you to a certain level. After that, you're on your own. And then we've also heard the panelists talking about the working hard. First of all, you've got to understand the career you want. And I would say there, though, I didn't particularly say, oh, I must be a lawyer, I must be a lawyer. But somehow, just maybe my own background, the fact that my father was a lawyer, a prominent lawyer at the time and all of that, was just taken for granted that I had to be a lawyer. So, but having said that, it became interesting. So again, you have to enjoy the work that you're doing. And it's, as another, Mrs. Bali was saying too, it's not a case of jack of all trades, master of none. No, it's master of all, because there are some fundamentals that go right across. RMD, Mr. Obong has also highlighted it. There's some fundamentals that go right across all the professions in terms of, can you be relied upon if you're given any work to do? Are you trustworthy? Do you have that integrity? It applies across board. Leaving a legacy, working hard. Aja has also talked about how she worked hard to break any bias. And I think the MD again emphasized it. No matter what bias they're talking about, use hard work. Even if you meet it there, everybody meets biases on the way. Work hard enough to break it, that they say that, oh, well, she may be this, he may be that, he may be this, but I think we need him. I think we need him on board. We need her on board. On this team, if they had two teams here, would they choose you to be on your third team? Definitely. I think that answers the question. So I think it's a combination of everything. Being prepared, also having the grace to meet opportunities, being at the right place at the right time. Because even after you've accomplished all the things you're supposed to do, number one, you need grace yourself, that you attract the right kind of environment. And then number two, opportunity. And even on that, you need to work where there's opportunity. I read, and I say work where there's opportunity. I read a book once, and it said, when you're going for, when you're doing a networking mission, always attend the opening session. Even if you miss others, always attend the opening session. Now that's a bit of a joke, but I think the point that's making is that if you want opportunity, you must be moving with people who will give you that opportunity too. So I think a combination of factors, and at the end of the day, you just pray for grace, because nobody knows it all. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. Absolutely nothing to add or summarize. You've given the responses, and you also capped it all up for us, very brilliantly. Thank you so much, ma'am. So we have 2 questions for Hajia Zubaida. It starts first with a comment. So I'll read the comments first and then move into the question for you, madam. It says, well done, Madam Zubaida, so trailblazing. It would be great to have this depth of value and vibes being made available to 2022 century women and girls. How can we end the thinking that shortcut is the route to excellence? How do we break the bias that places the route to excellence on women and girls to lesser demeaning values?
Thank you very much. I will still say that it's communication, enlightenment. We have to communicate and enlighten people to the importance of a lady or a woman, achieving her own set objectives. That we are people, we're a person who have, some hopes, some aspirations, some, everybody has his own goals and aspirations and something that you want to achieve or something that you want to do. So for you to be able to do that, you have to now be able to communicate, and we have to start, the discussion, and the discussion that it is okay for a woman to choose whatever she wants to be, whatever she wants to do, even in the family environment, because some people choose to be housewives, some people choose to be, career people, some people choose to be, entrepreneurs, but you do it from the house and everything. So I think I believe that this is it, that we have to discuss, we have to enlighten and communicate, the importance of respecting individual as women as individuals and as people and a person that has aspirations. So I don't know if I've answered the question.
Well, thank you very much. So I think that question was from Dr. Festus. You can drop a comment in the chat if you still feel like there's anything you want Aja to add. But Aja, you had a second question asking that what recommendations would you give to our political and institutional leaders towards making Nigeria a better country for women to thrive, particularly having gone through the system and still being able to come out tops, despite some of the things that we hear about, how the Nigerian system works?
What I always say is that, we don't get what we deserve. We get what we can negotiate. And nobody is going to give you something. You have to work hard. You have to thrive to get it. It's just, for example, this issue about the National Assembly not voting okay for women participation in the National Assembly. That is their own bias, because they feel that, why would women be in a political setting? But with all the noise, the protestations and the discussions going on now, we are, pressing the point and showing that we have to be heard. You understand? And what it is that what I always say is that be the best that you can. When you are the best and you're working hard, you change whatever you can change. You can't change everything, but whatever you change around you, you start with yourself. Once you apply that, then other people will see. And you have to negotiate whatever we want, we have to negotiate it, because everybody has his own bias about this. But once they understand in our negotiation, you tell them what is important, let them see for themselves the value that you bring, the value that women can bring to leadership. Because whenever you see a woman head of an establishment or institution, you see the people thrive, the company, the organization thrive. But when women are given opportunity to do something, they do it well. Maybe because we had to work harder, perhaps, to get to that level, or because we for you to even start the journey, that you must have had an aspiration to achieve something or to do something, and therefore you work doubly hard. So my advice is that for us as women, we have to learn to negotiate our terms and whatever we want. Not necessarily that we deserve this or we deserve that, because nobody's going to give it to us. We have to fight for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aija. Thank you so much. Okay, so Ms. Bali, you also have a 2-in-1 question. One was specifically directed to you, but the second question was very similar. So we've thought to merge both questions together into one. So someone has asked you, what challenges have our female panelists encountered in managing their career and their home, and how were those challenges dealt with? And then, like I mentioned, somebody specifically tagged you and said there are traditional barriers at the doorsteps of women advancement. How do we break all this? Do not tell me it is no longer in existence, because I know they still exist. For Mrs. B, so specifically to you. So if you can just respond to those two questions together. Thank you.
Okay, what challenges have I personally faced? Quite a lot of challenges. What I said, so the things that, have equipped me to be able to overcome, first of all, my mindset, my positive mindset, and the fact that I believe with hard work, with the grace, there's always grace, you can, and a determination. Now, I have a very collaborative approach to things, but I'm going to describe a particular challenge that I faced, which was very interesting. And it just shows, for me, when I thought about it, it just shows the importance of teamwork. So I was working in, I don't know whether I'm allowed to, it's not defunct, so I guess I can mention the name. I was working in Virgin Nigeria. And Virgin Nigeria was a collaboration between Virgin Atlantic and the Nigerian government. And there were certain things that Virgin Atlantic did not want, and there were certain things that the Nigerian government did want. So you could see there's already tension. And so one of the things that Virgin Atlantic was very, very clear, that because of the history and because of the antecedents and things they had known and what they knew about it, was that they didn't want us to take on certain I use the word expedition, certain types of projects. So there was a particular project that the Nigerian government said, we must do. And I can tell you what, this project was definitely going to be a high road to nothing. It was right at the start, we knew it was loss-making. We knew we could not do that project and make money. Now, any organization is there to make money. So you know very well that you are going into a project that you have to do because your government is saying that you must do. If you do not do it, they will shut you down. And your partner, your majority partner is saying, you mustn't do it. You can see that there's a tension. So of course, we sat in a board meeting in a management meeting that day. And at that point, the head of marketing said, who was responsible for actually driving this project, said, I can't do it, I'd rather resign. So you can imagine and I was in charge of route rollouts then. And there was absolute silence because he was actually determined to resign and to go back to the UK. So it was, so what are we going to do? That means if you resign and you don't do this project, everybody's going to go home. In other words, they're going to shut us down. So that was me, probably a little bit hesitant at the time. I kind of put my hand up and said, okay, well, you know what? It's something I've got to do. And it's something, and everybody looked at me and think, this girl must be mad. She's actually just, had this a death sentence. But I didn't think it was a death sentence. I thought it was a challenge. And it was something that with collaboration, with engagement, with stakeholder management, I could actually at least push through to the end and manage all the stakeholders. It was fraught with problems from the beginning to the end. It was fraught with problems, but I knew I needed every single member of the team, from technical to sales to marketing to people who we didn't even know that I knew that would help us along the way. It was a collaborative effort. Now, one thing that was quite interesting, so we had to go to Abuja several times. At each time we went to Abuja, it was knock, 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 knock. And there was a particular time, one of my team members, who was a man, said, Mrs. B, don't talk anymore. Don't talk anymore, don't talk anymore. They don't like this, your English. Don't talk anymore, don't talk anymore. So of course I had to, even though I was the lead, I realized what he was saying. This bias is too much for us. We don't want this woman coming to speak English. She doesn't understand what we're talking about. And anyway, this is the way we want it to work. So I remember this hot meeting that was televised. He pinched me because he knew I was on the edge of my seat to counter everything they were saying about us. He pinched me and said, just don't talk, don't talk, don't talk. Of course, I just had to sort of and allow him to talk. Now, honestly, he saved the day, because if I had the passion and I won't even say anger, the passion with which I would have gotten up to speak about would have ruined the whole thing. You'll have said, this Oyinbos, this women, this, all the things, all the labels will have come out. But he came, navigated it, and it was a win-win. So I hope I've been able to articulate lots of things where if you are in your career, there are challenges all the way, but you have to be determined. You have to use whatever you use, collaborate, negotiate, collaborate, negotiate, and just be determined to push through. Understand your stakeholder map. Understand who is important. Because in any organization, they're important. If we had not done that project, and I can tell you at that point, they would have shut us down. And you know what? We made a whopping great loss. We did make a whopping great loss. Virgin Atlantic wasn't happy, very unhappy about it, but at least we were able to extend the life of the organization for a lot longer until natural causes, all what happened to Virgin Nigeria. So I'm just giving you that example to show that there's so many things that are within our that we can pull out of our pockets as executives, as people in as workers, within an organization to achieve our objective and to push our career.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Question, and I answered the two in one, given the example. And I had to give a live one because I know that everybody would have known what happened one way or the other.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for the live example. I think it's one that a lot of listeners could relate to. And thank you for being very candor. Thank you for the candor. It was really good. Okay, so we have quite a few questions, but we had hoped to have a hard stop at 1:30. So I'm going to please crave the indulgence of the panelists and my CEO for us to take this last question before we have the closing remarks from the panelists and a final charge from the chairman as we round off. And that's because this question has come in from about 4 different people in different versions. So I want to believe that it's very important to quite a few people on the webinar today. So I'll just read that very quickly. And the question in different versions is basically around how would women break away from biases, leads created by marriages? So someone specifically says when the husband wants you to just remain a full-time housewife, and that person is asking how motherhood, impacts on women's careers and things, just generally things around motherhood, raising children, and career. And it's come up in quite a few questions. So I'm going to merge it all into one. I won't direct it to one single person. I know we have Haija here. I know we have Madam Chairman here. I'm hoping collectively you can give a response from your very individual experiences that you've had in this area. How did you balance your home, raising children, doing whatever else you love doing, and of course, growing your career, your business, and all the multi-dimensional things that you did, whilst also, going on this journey. So I don't know if Madam Chairman wants to go first or after the other speakers. Sorry, Ma, you're muted.
Yeah, I think it's a very reasonable question to ask. And I think there's no single answer that will satisfy all. It's not a one size fits all. Let me say, it's not a one size fits all. And you can have, for instance, a reasonable, let's start with our spouses. Some are more reasonable than others, okay? And it starts from there, because if you have a spouse that is really not reasonable, it will really be either you have to make hard choices, as to which one you prefer, But now, I think nowadays too, women are smarter. Even before they go into marriage, they've made that choice. And they decided that, you know what, it's either you're going to be my partner and along this journey of as a collaboration, and we negotiate the rest as we go on, or you realize that no, this cannot happen that way, and then you've made a choice that okay, I'll give up my career and I will settle down to what is. So you've been negotiated out of what you want, because your partner or spouse has decided this is what I want. So he has got himself a good negotiation deal. And I think it's good that we brought up this issue of collaboration and negotiation. So I think a lot of that comes into play, because what it does is that when you're collaborating or negotiating, you have to look at the cards we have been served with in life. We are given different cards in life. You can have a husband that says, please, in fact, I'm going to even make sure that life is made easy for you, so that you're going to work all the things that will allow you to work well, that will allow you to succeed. I remember when I was a commissioner, we had to go to some parts. We had to take planes into places. I mean, Nigeria is so developed now. We had to take planes into places where there's no airport. So we would take a private Air Force plane, a private plane, and all of that. And so many things that one could remember from that. The Attorney General of the Federation at that time, Prince Ajibola, I remember myself and my husband, we had to go he wanted to come. So each time for him, it was also, that's why I say collaboration. So for him, it was also, a very interesting journey. So that was collaboration there. And sometimes it's a bit of negotiation. Okay, if I do this, if I'm going to be at work, I still promise that, okay, I will still I will still be able to take the children to do this. So it's a bit of collaboration and negotiation. And I think that explanation kind of fits all. The rest are dependent on the kind of spouse you have, the kind of person you are, and all of that. But collaboration and negotiation, I just love those two words that have been brought up here. I think those two are really key. And in addition to that, sometimes you need to make that decision before, or you just kind of maneuver your way during it. And it's really a maneuvering your way within it, the course of it. I think I'll stop there because I know many of my colleagues will have more to say on this segment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. Thank you. So I could see Ms. Bali.
No, I have so many things I wanted to say, and a lot of, I mean, I'm totally in agreement with what our Madam Chairman says. But, the first thing that came to mind is, can two work together unless they agree? I think it's something that has to be agreed at the outset. You are in a relationship with somebody, you understand, you should know the person enough to know that, am I going to spend a lifetime with this person? I have my dreams, I have my aspirations. Now that's speaking on the spousal side. I have my dreams, I have my aspirations. You should be entering into a relationship or into marriage with somebody who will enhance and support. So if you should, and those are things you should discuss at the outset. And things have changed. As Mrs. Chifada said, women are a lot more enlightened, they are educated, they are bolder. So these conversations are had and should be had a lot earlier. You should not wait till you've gotten into marriage and it says stay at home, because then you would have to, I'm going to use an old adage, you will have to stoop to conquer. You will have to stoop to conquer because you're already in it and you're already in a commitment. But I think if those conversations are had, and they can be had, in a very peaceful manner, they don't have to be aggravated or, with fights. You both lay your goals. Everybody has a goal and a vision for life. And your visions, the vision must be one vision if you're going to get married. So I'll leave it at that. When it comes to the work environment, because sometimes the work environment also creates situations of difficulty in the marriage. Now, I must admit, I've never really understood, why people have to work 24 hours that God gives, because I don't think you can be productive for 24 hours. So I then begin to question, if you are forced to be in the office from 8 a.m. and you leave the office every single day at 11 p.m., then you need to reconsider what kind of job you are in, especially if it is affecting your marriage. And the truth is that those hours can never, ever be productive altogether. And if it's constant, like I am a chartered accountant, and in at certain periods, usually during the year end when I was still practicing, there were long periods where we would work, but we knew that it was only for a short period of time. And what you do is that you make everything, you create an environment in the home where the children are well looked after, the food is there, everything to make everybody comfortable. So it's win-win for both sides. And then in your time, when you have time with your family, it is focused on family. You are engaged with your family. You're not distracted doing other things. So I think it's a fine balance, and women must be intentional about that fine balance, because the family is very important. If that bedrock is broken in the future, even your career cannot succeed. That's in my own opinion. If the family is bad and the family is broken, you find that it would affect your career going forward. So I would leave that and ask maybe
Aija share her thoughts. I can see her smile as well.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. As you can see, everybody is happily chipping in, and I do agree with all that has been said. And as marriage is like it's a partnership, and I remember what my father said to me before I got married. He said, if you want to marry, you should look and see, who do you want to be the father of your children? The father of your children. So from that, and if it's a man getting married, you should look at, who do you want to be the mother of your children? So apart from being in love or any such stuff, and that means that you should really critically look at the person that you actually want to marry. Is he somebody that will support you? Is he somebody that, will you'll grow together? Is he somebody that, he would rather he grows and you don't? And all these things, they're things that you should actually, as has already been said, know ahead of time. You have a discussion, and even sometimes we understand that even after marriage, people do change. Mm-hmm. So when they do change, what it is that you as the woman, you have to try and have an open, discussion about a lot of things that is happening in your life. Find out, why does he want you to be a housewife, full-time housewife, or not to work? Why? I mean, what are the issues? You know, because sometimes when women are successful, the men feel, you know, inadequate. They feel as if you don't have respect for them anymore. So it is not so much that they don't want you to work, but that it is about them, about their own insecurity. And so you have to, you know, explain or talk to them in such a way that they are still the man, he's still the man of the house, he's still the major decision maker, but that you are also a part of that house and a part of that decision making. And that, you know, supporting you in your own chosen, you know, aspiration will actually make your marriage more, you know, peaceful, more productive. So, as I've already said, we negotiate, we discuss, you know, and also taking care of the children, or in a marriage where you have children. First of all, you have to have support. You know, in the past, you know, we had our aunties, our grannies, our whatever come to look after the kids. But unfortunately now, everybody is, you know, busy doing something. And therefore you find it very difficult to have, you know, any relation come to live with you, and the living situations are different than they were before. But you have to also make sure that whoever you bring into your house or wherever you take your children, that you are really sure of the place, that they will take care of them, that, you know, it's a safe space for them to be, whether they're at home or they're in a school environment or crash environment, they're in a safe space. And also you have to have time for them, you know, because I have noticed now parents of nowadays, you know, unfortunately, I have sorry to say that, you know, they're mostly on their phones. When it is time to be with the children, to give them 100% of your time when you're with them, 100% of your time when you're with your spouse. However, most times we find ourselves being on our phones and checking this, checking that, doing that. So I think these are all part of the issues that we're facing as a society now, that we have to, you know, accord each person his, you know, due respect and time, allotted time, so that we can all grow as a family unit, rather than just you are doing your own business, you don't care what time you come home, you don't care, you know, how the children are being fed or your house is being kept, or even yourself sometimes. And I believe that also that we should have time for everything. You know your time to go to work, you should go to work and do your work within that time. Don't bring work home. Even though I used to bring work home, but I have learned that, you know, that takes away from the family time. You know, try as much as possible to do whatever you work you have to do in the office, do it in the office. And even if you have to do it later in the house, you know, create a time that nobody is demanding your time at that time to do it. I think because the family is the bedrock of any society. Once you have a broken family, many broken families, then you have an upheaval in the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haija. Thank you so much, Haija. Thank you, Ms. Bali. Thank you, Madam Chairman. And we celebrate and, you know, give a shout out to husbands and men who support their wives and the females on their team. And we also celebrate husbands who join webinars where their wives are anchoring to provide moral support. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. We're now rounding off, and we're now going to, we still have loads of questions, but unfortunately, because of time, we can't take any more questions. But we'll now go into the closing statements. We'll start with the CEO with his closing remarks. Please, in about 1 minute or less, just recap what you'd like everyone to take out from this session. Move on from the CEO to Ms. Bali and Haija Rashid, and then finally the chairman would give us her charge for us as we round off. We'll take the appreciation from the IWD AP committee representative and we'll round off the session. So I'd go to the CEO for his closing remarks. You're muted, sir.
Sorry, thank you very much, Adriel and panelists. Very, very interesting and engaging and real life topics and examples we're seeing today. I think that, once there was a gentleman that came to meet me, and he asked me a question, very exposed gentleman, and he said, he was surprised that why are people always against when a lady dies and the family member, when a man dies and a family member comes to take over the possessions of the family. He said he was surprised that is that not normal. And so I think that, and this is a very, very exposed young man, I think that culture is very, very important in terms of what culture we're promoting. That is the reality. People we need to be more educated. We really need to be more educated. And I like conversations, and conversations like this have to be, as I was just going through this, most times in business, we always talk about the hard stuff, we always talk about the hard stuff, but there are real life issues like this that actually have an impact on that hard stuff. And I think that more education for men in terms of this bias, I think that more conversations like this, I think that what do we promote as a culture? Because again, like that gentleman I gave an example, he doesn't even know what is right or what is wrong. So those conversations have to be had. We have a lot of we have a lot of unconscious biases that we don't have. We need to identify them. We need to see them. We need to be trained against them. We need to look for ways to, overcome them, because it is so important, not just as individuals, but also as a society. It's so important. And one thing I just want to part with is that everybody, regardless of who, we must treat everybody equally, because every single person is a unique being, and each of those unique beings have something to put on the table. And so we must respect and treat those people, in equally, and knowing that they have something to bring, regardless of age, gender, race, tribe, religion. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our distinguished CEO. Ms. Bali?
I'll leave you with a few statements, which I sort of have thought about, and there are three. So we are stewards and not owners. We are stewards in the workplace to bring about the vision of the organization. Freedom comes through sacrifice and not selfishness. Our sacrifice creates freedom to grow and excel. You can choose to spend your life or invest it. My advice, invest it in the things that matter. Break the bias. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And hi, Jeff.
I think my own part in short is, as women, we are free to dream, to express, to create, and live our life differently. We shouldn't be shy. We shouldn't be coward. But at the same time, we should do it with respect. We should do it with knowledge. And, we should do it in partnership, because the goal of everything we do is for us to make progress, to develop as human beings. So I believe that every individual has his own right to dream, to express and achieve whatever they want to achieve in a respectful manner. We have to respect each other, because we have differences. Even within a family, you have differences. This person is interested in this person is interested in that, this person is this person is that. So when we respect each other and we acknowledge the differences that we have, then as a society, we can develop and achieve more than what we're doing right now. I think this is my part in short.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Aja. Thank you for those deep thoughts. And we'll then round this up with the charge from our board chairman and also our distinguished chairperson for today's event.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think it's been such an interesting webinar, an interesting session, and I've also learned and where the emphasis is for everybody, and you kind of putting things back into perspective. What you may know, and when you hear someone say it again, you know that, okay, yes, if I'd had any doubts about that, with it being resaid here, it becomes even more credible. So I would start off by just saying that wherever we are, I think respect is really key. And if we are, as we are talking now about breaking the bias, I think the key thing really is respect, because if you, even in law, we know that it says that your own freedom stops where the rights of others begin. So if we are respecting, whether we're a man or woman, if we're respecting, whether it's our partners or spouse, you know that, yes, I have this right, but yes, but your own rights stop where your partner, your colleagues in work, whoever they are, where theirs starts. So we need to respect each other in the offices. And if we have that respect, when it comes to whether it's promotion, whether it's advantages, whatever it is, I think that becomes key. And getting there, enlightenment, as another panelist had said, enlightenment, awareness, and continue to discuss and learning about improvement of your own culture. Culture should not be static. We now know that culture should not be static. So you remove those parts of your culture that are taking you back, and even religion sometimes, you remove those parts that are dragging you back, and you re-emphasize on those parts of the culture that are taking you forward. And that's why you find that some societies, all societies, imbibe other parts of culture that they know this is a very good culture, this is a very good tradition. They somehow slowly imbibe it into their own. It's got from other places. So I feel that enlightenment is very important, and therefore for men, women, and society as well, once we respect each other and we're enlightened, that is also very good. Adding value, wherever you are, adding value to the environment in which you work, because that's what diversity should do, because you bring in a perspective that maybe your other colleagues, friends, peers have not thought about, and you bring it in because you are coming from a different background. So therefore it becomes a benefit to those around you. So you must always add value to your environment. And if your goal is also to leave very positive impact and legacy, you will also, from the word go, you'll be conscious that let it be my legacy that, yes, in my time, we were able to, if it's areas where women are not so advantaged, maybe you made it convenient, maybe it's working hours were made more flexible. Now that we have Zoom and internet, having a flexible working place, that was the legacy I left, the hours of work, without compromising on efficiency, without compromising on profitability. In fact, profitability, you can say, even grew. With the flexibility, we found that the profitability was able to grow because we were able to use the maximum time. So I think these are all areas which we should look at very carefully. Adding value, respect for our peers, the people in our workplace, enlightenment and discussions that allow this to take place, and leaving a legacy that takes you into the next level, taking you a higher level, whether it's your workplace and whatever. So I would want to leave with that, and I think with that, you find that we do become leaders. At whatever level we find ourselves, leaders, and excellence follows. Continue to develop ourselves along these lines, And I believe we will be a better society. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come up and say these things. And as I said, honestly, some things we know already, but it's re-emphasized so we know that it's the right thing. And some things we're learning a better perspective. We're learning a better perspective about the same matter, because this world is round and, it's the same thing, the same issues, but we thank God they continue to get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chairman, and all of our distinguished panelists. Thank you. I would very quickly call up my colleague. We call her the Megatronics, Electronics, Physics lecturer / DevOps engineer. She's a member of the IWD committee, Victory Eze, and she'll just be sharing the thanks for the committee and the organization to our distinguished panelists. Victory, are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here. Wow. Thank you so much. On behalf of the AP IWD Planning Committee, it has been a very wonderful time, as in it was very, very beautiful. Our appreciation goes to all of you, because we know we gave you a short notice. The notice period wasn't that much, and you so much honored us, and you are all here. So I want to especially say thank you so much. We really appreciate. To our chief, Mrs. Eniola, we really appreciate. I love your simplicity. And when Ejiro was going through your profile, I was like, wow, Jesus, I get people like this. And it's really been a blessing, and I really appreciate it a lot. And yes, Aja, I love your simplicity. Not only me, I know the audience also love you. You were just so down to earth. The way you tackled the last question about how we women can handle careers, especially when we have little families to take care of, especially young people like us. And in short, you so much resonate into my heart. Thank you. Miss Bali, in short, I love your energy. You went straight to the point. You really said so much. In short, and I think every emphasis was on learning. I know learning has brought you guys this far. And we that we are upcoming, we hope to also learn and, of course, maybe get to where you are by God's grace. And to our very, very wonderful CEO, sir. Thank you for being, let me not say blessed that they are among women, but thank you for being in our midst. Thank you for being here, sir. We really appreciate. Ejiro, our moderator, you did a very beautiful job, and everybody was carried along. The audiences were carried along. And to our wonderful audiences, we really appreciate you. AP is actually a very wonderful company. I've joined them recently, and I was like, do this thing. When I was told that I was part of the committee, I was like, sorry, do they celebrate this? Because it was, I kind of reacted that, wow. So women are really giving preferences. I've actually been in the civil service. I was actually, of course, a lecturer at the University of Benin. And to be sincere, for more than 6 years we've never celebrated anything like this. So this coming up, I was like, wow, I think there's more awareness to be done. And I've really learned so much. So on behalf of myself, the planning committee, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Victory. So thank you very much to all of our panelists and to all those who joined us on YouTube as well. We had over 33 people who joined us on YouTube, drop comments and be engaged. We had questions in the chat. Thank you for all of our attendees. Our first comment was from Dr. Festus, and he's still here almost exactly 2 hours after we started. We do appreciate your time. We hope that you found value in the session. As you're sharing your feedback and your thoughts, please tag at Africa Prudential PLC and use the hashtag APIWD Fireside. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, our CEO, Haja Rashid, and Ms. Bali. The session is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you, panel.